Hello everyone, my name is Xiaoqi Mi. I'm doing the corporate governance and innovation performance in an emerging country. I'm from China. And innovation is not a new idea that drives economic and productivity growth. It is first proposed by Adam Smith in 1776, and the definition of the innovation is not only the new products, it also can be the new product, a new process, and substitution of a less expensive material, a more efficient approach for doing innovation, and increased productive efficiency. National systems of innovation perspective highlights the country-specific institutional factors. Institutions change among countries, and the diversity of the institutional settings can cause the different technological capabilities and affect firms' innovation strategies and what the innovation performance they resulted. The Chinese innovation systems cover these 5 subsystems, and the Chinese innovation systems is a social system. Government plays an important role, but the market mechanism plays a basic role. The various players in the national innovation systems, they interact regularly. There's 3 models explain the corporate governance structure now: Anglo-American model, Japanese model, German model. But many countries cannot be explained by these 3 models, especially in developing countries such as China. The ownership structures in China has been shifted from one dominant state ownership to 5 different ownerships over the last 4 decades due to the reform and open-up policy. Most of previous literatures concentrates on only one ownership structure. The effect of one ownership structure on firm innovation, and I would like to do the comprehensive analysis about the relationship between the 5 ownerships and firm innovation. The latest and most relevant one was done 7 years ago, and the data was collected from 2001-2005, and the data is outdated. And the firms which applies efficient management in changing environments relies on the suitable structures between ownership control device and its monitoring mechanisms. To understand the relationship between the innovation and firm ownership, the first is to be aware of the degree of information asymmetries. Then I would like to use the different innovation measurements here: intensity, scope, and spillover effects. Previous literature preferred to use the R&D investment and the number of patents granted each year in a firm. However, the disadvantages by using those 2 measurements are obvious. For the R&D investment, the innovation performance can be overestimated, as the R&D investment is an essential factor in producing innovation. Also, the innovation performance can be overestimated if the innovation outcome does not come from the research laboratory. Additionally, use of the R&D investment can benefit large enterprises, since the small and medium enterprises have an informal and occasional R&D activities. For the patent counts, patent system changed among countries, and the tendency to patent change among sectors. Some innovation cannot be patented, and there's significant different quality of patents. And also, the counting patent is more likely to count the invention rather than innovation. Then I go to the concentrated ownership. Concentrated ownership is defined as the majority of stocks held by few people. They can be individuals, institutional investors, non-institutional investors who have voting rights or cash flow rights, and usually investors have at least 5% of shares. The higher the shares owned by few investors, the stronger the governance power. As argued by the agency theories, shareholders' interests are in alignment with managers' interests. It reduces agency costs, agency problems, and therefore we can find a positive relationship between the concentrated ownership and financial performance, firm's financial performance. Regarding the firm's innovation performance, most of them find a positive impact because it reduces agency costs, disciplines management behavior, favors financial commitments and organizational integration, makes reputation constructs tighter, and favors long-term relations. Finally, a small number of large shareholders may prefer making long-term investment in R&D to increase stability of the firm. Controlled owners are more willing to take innovation strategy with higher risks, even if there's the possibility of success of the innovation is low. But the managers within dispersed ownership, they are more willing to take imitation strategy with the low risk as they undertake the cost of failure. Okay. Some find the negative impact due to the increased risk undertaken by the owners, the less liquidity in the marketplace, and the fewer opportunities to negotiate firm value. Also, the principal conflicts arising between the large shareholders and the minority shareholders. It can reduce the innovation activities, and also the risk. The shareholders becomes more risk aversion due to the lack of financial and industrial diversification. Cho found no relationship between the concentrated ownership and firm's innovation performance due to because the market is not sensitive enough to differentiate the firms according to ownership features. Some of them find the nonlinear relationship because some firms apply dual class structures, but as the firm owners don't want to lose the control to the firms, and therefore these kind of firms less likely to enter the capital market, causes less investment, grow slowly, and value lower. In emerging countries such as China, these two papers review an nonlinear relationship, and the diagram is inverted U-shaped relationship. So on one hand, as firms are fully concentrated, the more number of shares owned by shareholders, the more control power they have, and the shareholders' objective may coincide with managers' wants. And on the other hand, higher the stock concentration, the lower the R&D intensity. It is because of the less liquidity in the marketplace, increased risk undertaken by the owners, etc. At a moderate degree, no large shareholder exists, so the board is controlled by the integration of a few shareholders who previously owned a large number of shares and most minority shareholders. Then managers aim to achieve a higher probability because of the effective monitoring mechanism assumed by agency theory. The principal conflicts and principal agent conflicts can be banished by managerial optimism and identity of shareholders' interests, and it then results from objective shift from short-term profit maximization to long-term horizon. And because all these, because of the reason I talked above, and so I expect the relationship between the concentrated ownership and firm innovation to be nonlinear. for institutional ownership, institutional investors as large shareholders have positive impact on firm performance as by virtue of the efficient monitoring at lower user costs. As argued by their active monitoring view, we can see empirical evidence say that institutional ownership have a positive impact on firm performance as well as firm innovation. And here's some examples why the institutional ownership positively affects firms' innovation performance. First is because the financial institutions have an incentive of large equity stakes to monitor for the sake of remitting agency problem, lowering information asymmetries that hinder innovation. And secondly, top managers have the career concern that they undertake the cost of failure about the innovation. And due to the stochastic reasons, active monitor can identify those stochastic reasons and let the manager get rid of this concern and motivate them to innovate. And for the third one, it's positive as well. There's a little impact you cannot see. See? It's too big. Yeah. Is it too big? Is it too big? No, way. Leave it. Okay, this is also the positive. Just leave it. See? Sorry. Okay. Just leave it. Also here is a little positive impact because unlike those institutional investors in Asian countries, institutional investors in China is more likely to maintain the constant business relationship with the managers rather than monitor their behaviors. So the result is a little positive impact. And for the different institutional investors have different view of the monitoring, and the determinants of the views of the monitoring are the sensitivity of pressure, number of shares owned by institutional investors, and where the institutional investors come from, national or international firms. And there are 3 reasons about why this is a significant role of institutional ownership play in innovation activities. First, management behaviors are monitored by institutional investors through governance activities and collecting information about the quality of R&D investments. This monitoring role becomes stronger as the incumbent management is weak. In emerging countries where the intellectual property rights is weak, R&D investment takes higher risks due to the possibility of imitation by competitors. Therefore, innovative firms may have less profit, or the profit is managed, which in turn the managers in innovative firms have concern about the field of the innovation, and then the active monitors can help managers to get off this concern and motivate them to innovate. The higher degree of the institutional ownership, the more incentive to innovate in this case. And then the presence of institutional investors allow their managers to shift their objective from short-term profit maximization to long-term horizon. The late construction of national R&D infrastructure in emerging countries required large amounts of money that's helped directly by large financial institutions, and thereby expect positive relationship here. To state ownership, a government plays a role as an investor and a resource allocation coordinator. So, in other words, government plays an important role in facilitating innovation capacity and developing firms' developing firm innovation strategies. The definition here, state ownership, is the proportion of the shares in a firm holding by central or regional governments and various entities connected with the government. The relationship between the state ownership and performance can be positive, caused by public intervention, and can be negative due to the firm's inefficiency and political failure. Also, there's a non-linear relationship. Too little shares controlled by the government, too little support can get from government to pull out SOEs out from their difficulty. Too much shares owned by the government, too much control and interference in the economic operation of SOEs. There's several advantages of state ownership in firm innovation. First, the political benefits. As the state ownership has the extra protection of intellectual property rights, since the government provides the exclusive endorsements and favorable treatments to protect SOEs. So even though the intellectual property rights protection is weak in emerging countries, SOEs can SOEs can perform better than non-SOE companies. And then the financial benefits. Innovation is uncertain and risky. It usually requires a larger amount of money compared to non-SOE. SOEs can easily get access to this kind of support due to the naturally tight relationship connection between the firms and government. It then encourage SOE to take more risks, and government funding is primarily distributed to SOEs. And then the resources. For SOEs are more likely to, it's more easily to gain access to tax benefits, land resources, important infrastructure resources, and they have natural links between universities, research institutes, among university research institutes and SOEs, and the collaboration between them can lower the risk of R&D and thereby boosting innovation performance and generating economic returns. The insider ownership. The insider ownership, the shareholdings by individual who closely relate to the management of the firm's individual with exclusive voting rights. Here, I consider the family ownership, employee ownership, and manager ownership. So, I can find the positive impact between the positive relationship between the inside ownership and the firm innovation, and also regarding managerial ownership, I can find non-linear impact due to limited efficiency of the market for corporate control to work as an efficient governance mechanism. And for the family ownership, I also can someone find the negative relationship due to the risk-averse firm owners. And regarding the innovation, firm innovation performance, family ownership, manager ownership, and employee ownership all can find positive impact. Then due to these reasons, then I expect the positive relationship between inside ownership and firm ownership. The foreign ownership refers to the multinational companies or financial institutions. In this case, one of critical factors determining innovation in foreign owned enterprises is technological capability. So foreign-owned firms can greatly rely on their own capability to develop new products through in-house R&D activities. And there's one empirical evidence show the positive relationship. However, the intellectual property right protection in China is weak, so there's high transaction cost to prevent imitation and further tacit knowledge, which is one of the most important which is one of the most important knowledge in knowledge distribution. It is hard to transfer. So I guess that here is negative correlation. Then I give a brief research method. Yeah, and secondary data is collected, and from 2014 to 2017, and innovation performance is not measured by R&D investment, but patent counts, but it's measured by intensity, scope, and spillovers. And file ownerships are my interval variable, and these are control variables. And then I use negative binomial model here for counting for the counting variables. For modeling count variables, negative binomial model and Poisson model can be used. And here I prefer the negative binomial due to over dispersion in Poisson distribution. And the conclusion is the relationship between ownership concentration, firms' innovation can be nonlinear, and institutional ownership, state ownership, and inside ownership will be positively correlated to firms' innovation performance, but the foreign ownership will be negatively correlated to firm innovation performance. Yeah, and I want to find proper ownership structure in firms. Yeah, that's all.
I would say your topic is very interesting. It's a very good topic. Can we just go back to just that slide, the conclusion, please, that you've made? What I noticed from your literature, you've made fantastic literature review. And what I was trying to gather from that is that you've managed to find a gap in your literature. You've been saying that we've got those 5 structures, and so far the research that has been done is looking at each structure independently. And also the current research that has been done, it has also mainly used, for example, R&D investment, and they've also used number of patents, and you've clearly talked about the disadvantages of that. So that is really good work. And then you've then said that out of that, there's a new paper, was it 2013, which is using intensity scope over effect, and that is the methodology that you'd like to apply onto your work. So I think coming up with all those negatives that have been done in the past, that is a strength that you've done in your paper and that you've done so far. Now, when we look at the data collection, that is the stage that you seem to be at the minute. I was just thinking about, because you are going to look at all the 5 structures in China, and you want to compare them in your research. Now, when we look at comparisons, are you thinking about the size of the firms? What sort of, are you going to look at similar size firms? Or what is your plan on that? Because it wasn't, I know that it's something that you are coming on to now, but it's something that you started to think about. And what are the industries? Because there's 5 different structures seem so different.
Yes, for the size of firms, all listed firms, so they're all large enterprises. And so I will base on the industry mainly.
What sort of industry are we looking at?
Because here, based on the 8 sections in IPC classifications.
Okay, yeah, that's good. So that is what you're going to base to look at the industries.
Yeah.
Now, when you can you just go over the last point in your conclusion about foreign firms having, you are expecting that in your hypothesis you have a negative correlation, and then all the other structures to have a positive correlation.
Concentrated ownership has a nonlinear one. The concentrated ownership has a nonlinear relationship.
All right.
Yeah.
And then the other 3 is positive,
and
then the foreign has a negative. Yeah. Why is that the foreign structures in China have a negative?
Because I mainly consider about the intellectual property rights protection. Yeah, it's because that intellectual property right protection is weak in China, so there's high transaction costs. Yeah, to invent the imitation offers.
is it also because some of the foreign companies might be sort of intellectual property, might have a lot of intellectual type of innovation, yeah, and then there's no protection for that. Would that be?
If they apply for patents,
yeah,
it can
they
be,
can be protected.
Okay. But like for patents, some innovation cannot be patented, and some firms don't want to patent. Yeah, they want to keep secrets.
Yeah. All right. So I think it's a very good research, very interesting, and I wish you all the best in it. And very good gap that you managed to identify from the literature.
Can we take one question?
Yeah.
If you go to that at the lecture,
yeah.
I'm just wondering why you say from 2014 2017. Is that a specific reason why you take specific period? Because it's a very short period for annual data. So if you have 4 years data, how many companies do you expect in your samples?
Over 1,000.
1,000.
Yeah. Over.
And when you take overall companies, cross companies, I mean cross-sectional analysis.
It's panel data.
Panel data.
Okay.
Is one industry or different sectors?
Different industries.
So means you are going to control this differential?
Yes, the industries is one of the dummy control variable here.
Yeah.
There's industry dummy here. From 2014, there's another round of privatization of state ownership, state-owned enterprises in China. So I start from 2014, and to 2017 is the latest data I can got now. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Quite a few questions. First of all, you talk about innovation. The traditional literature innovation comes from Drucker, Peter Drucker.
Okay.
You mentioned, is there a reason you didn't mention him, or didn't include Peter Drucker's work?
Sorry, I didn't read that.
Okay.
Yeah, but I know the innovation from the Adam Smith.
Yeah. Adam Smith is a very old generation. We traditionally talk about Peter Drucker, or the America MIT, the innovation and definition. So that's why I wanted to
I have a
as a tradition. And you talk about ownership, and that's a negative comment. It's fine, but I know a case where BMW has their own factory in Shanghai, and where they have their own innovation development in Industry 4.0. So there are cases in China where innovation positively relate to a foreign-owned country. So you have to be careful in which cases. So there are quite a few cases that is positive. You have a full right to include your case, that's fine, and you can include people models would be great. And your title is China is a developing, economic developing. There's a huge debate on that. You have to understand that, especially when it takes the data, so be careful on your title. So these are just comments I hope you consider.
Yeah, based on the OECD, the Chinese economy is still the upper middle class, not upper class.
There are debates, because if you consider Eastern Coast, like Shanghai and all these, they have much higher GDP than all developing. So there are discussions.
Okay, we'll look at it. Thank you.
I need to comment on Dr. Your name was
Me?
Yeah. About you just.
Yeah.
Dr. Yuan, yeah. So the last publication of International Monetary Fund, they classify China as a developing country. And you just asked here about China as a developing country or not, but those publication was in 2015. Just classify China as a developing country. Because this has been like, usually I would say, it's updated every year. Even check in 2013, Qatar and United Arab Emirates were developed. but 2015 we're a developing country. But I think Singapore and Taiwan are considered as developed countries in the last publication.
Yes, what I tell is that there are publication knowledge. It's good to mention that there are different opinions and which side she. There are papers in China State Development. There are papers claiming China is no longer part of China.
No, we can't talk about part of China. We look at national policy. We look at the GDP as an average of the whole country. And if you take that into consideration, it is developing.
It's developing,
That's how we do it.
Can we say emerging market?
No, emerging markets is different again.
Yeah, because we're talking about emerging markets here, right?
Yes.
We're not talking about developed.
Yeah,
but anyway,
and we don't talk about underdeveloped anyway. That's
nothing to do with that. We're talking about emerging.
Yeah.
I think
So
emerging
if you compare China with the rest of developed country, then it's still developing.
Yes.
Yeah,
But
so
we're
that's
talking
how we do
about
it.
emerging.
But the work that classification was based on the population growth or export of goods and services and GDP per capita. That's three, like,
And when you
areas
take
that.
them all into account, it's still developing.
Like energy.
Yeah. And also, even if you look at developing, you say you can, they actually even put different levels of developing. Hence the emerging markets.
Well, yes, and there are arguments against that. So that's why we're.
Okay, should we break for coffee in 2 minutes?